All right, let's get right into it. If you're working in the Node.js world, you've definitely run into this choice. And it's a big one. It's a decision that really defines how your entire project is going to feel. And honestly, it's not just about code, it's about your whole development philosophy.
So, think about it. Are you the kind of developer who just loves a blank canvas? Total freedom to build whatever you want, however you want. Or do you work better with a detailed blueprint? Something that gives you structure and kind of nudges you toward best practices from day one. That right there, that's the fundamental question at the heart of the NestJS versus Express.js debate.
So let's bring out our contenders. In one corner, we've got the classic, the super flexible veteran Express.js. And in the other corner, the highly structured, let's say, opinionated challenger, NestJS. They're both built for Node.js, sure, but man, their approaches could not be more different.
First up is Express.js. This has been the go-to for years, right? The key word in its definition is unopinionated. It basically hands you the absolute bare minimum you need to get a web server running, and then it just gets out of your way. The whole philosophy of Express is all about one thing: freedom. It is incredibly lightweight. Its architecture is built around this really elegant idea of middleware, which are just these little functions you kind of snap together, like Legos to handle requests. But here's the catch. That freedom means everything is on you. The project structure, the database tools, the configuration, it's all up to you. You are in 100% control. And this quote from a developer on Reddit just nails it. It perfectly captures why people love Express. For so many folks, it's just unbeatable because it's simple and it is rock-solid reliable. It's a proven tool that, as they say, just works. And when you know it inside and out, you can move so fast.
Okay, now let's flip the coin and talk about our other contender, NestJS. The definition gives you a massive hint right away, inspired by Angular. Now, if you haven't used Angular, just know that means it's all about a very structured, very organized architecture. We're talking concepts like dependency injection and decorators. This is not a minimalist toolkit. This is a full-blown architect's blueprint, designed for really big, enterprise-level stuff.
But here's the thing that might surprise you. Nest isn't actually a replacement for Express. In fact, out of the box, it uses Express under the hood. Yeah, you can swap it out for Fastify if you want, but the point is, Nest is a powerful layer of structure that sits on top of these proven servers.
So the Nest philosophy is pretty much the polar opposite of Express. First off, it's built with TypeScript from the ground up, so you get type safety whether you want it or not. It forces you into a modular architecture and relies heavily on something called dependency injection. That's a big part of that Angular DNA we talked about. If you come from a Java or .NET background, this will feel very familiar. It just comes with a ton of stuff built in, all designed to keep huge projects from turning into a mess.
So, this brings us right to the heart of it all, the great debate. This isn't just about which one has better features. It's a fundamental clash of philosophies. Do you want the raw freedom to invent your own path, or do you want the safety and the power tools that come with a well-defined structure? Let's just put them side by side for a second. Look at the architecture. Nest gives you the structured, almost MVC-like pattern. Express? It's like you do you. TypeScript is mandatory and built in with Nest. It's totally optional with Express. And then you see a theme with things like dependency injection, error handling, and validation. For Nest, it's built-in support. For Express, the answer is usually, go find a third-party library.
And this quote right here is the argument for structure in a nutshell. Think about it. When you've got a huge team with people coming and going, an opinionated framework like Nest makes sure everyone is on the same page. It creates a common language, a shared pattern, that makes it way easier to bring on new people and actually maintain the code years down the line.
But there's always another side of the coin, right? All that structure comes at a price. This is probably the most common critique you'll hear about NestJS. It uses these things called decorators pretty heavily, which can feel a little bit like magic. For some developers, it just hides what's really going on, and you end up with files where it feels like the boilerplate code just drowns out the 2 lines of business logic you actually care about. So really, it boils down to this trade-off. Express is the total do-it-yourself approach. You go to the hardware store and you pick out every single tool. It's incredibly powerful, but as one developer said, it can also lead to cowboys shooting themselves in the foot. Nest, on the other hand, is the all-in-one kit. It's that kitchen sink framework that gives you everything you need, which is great for enforcing good habits, but might be way more than you need for a small project.
Now, take a look at a diagram like this. This is the kind of complex, event-driven system where NestJS absolutely shines. When you're building something this big, with all these different services talking to each other, the structure Nest provides isn't a limitation, it's a lifesaver. It actually has tools built in to handle things like message queues and microservices that just make managing all this complexity a whole lot easier.
Okay, so enough with the theory. Let's talk about the real world. Where are these frameworks actually being used, and who is using them?
I mean, look at this list for Express. We are talking about some of the biggest names on the entire internet. Netflix, Uber, PayPal. These companies rely on the speed and the flexibility of Express. So yeah, if anyone tells you Express is just for small projects, you can tell them that is definitely not the case. It's a battle-tested tool that can handle insane amounts of traffic.
And NestJS has its own roster of heavy hitters too, especially in the enterprise world. You've got companies like Adidas and Autodesk. You can kind of see the pattern here, right? A lot of large organizations that are building these really robust, long-term applications where things like maintainability and consistent structure are the absolute top priority.
So how do you choose for your project? Well, you should probably ask yourself these 4 questions. 1, how complex is this thing going to be? For a quick prototype, Express is probably faster. For a huge, complex system, Nest might save you a world of pain later. 2, what's your team like? If they love TypeScript and come from an Angular or Spring background, they're going to feel right at home in Nest. 3, how fast do you need to move? You can get an Express server running in like 5 minutes. And finally, number 4, think about the long term. Is a big team going to be working on this for years? If so, Nest structure could be a real game changer.
At the end of the day, it's pretty clear there's no single winner here. The goal isn't to pick the best framework, period. It's about figuring out which path is the right one for your specific journey.
If you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. The choice isn't about better or worse. It's all about context. It's about aligning the tool's philosophy with what your project needs, what your team knows, and where you see this application going in the future.
So I'll leave you with this final question to think about. The next time you're starting a project, staring at that blank screen, what are you going to reach for? Will it be the guided power of convention that comes with a blueprint, or the wild, limitless freedom of creation that comes with a blank canvas? The choice is yours.